In the first part, we touched upon the origins, the events that laid the foundation of the world order even before the turning point of 1946. But what was considered the end was, in fact, only a prologue to a much larger game. We are moving into the second half of our deep dive. Now, the most critical data and strategic insights that have been lurking in the shadows are coming to the surface. Archive Zero is unlocking information that has long remained hidden from view. And here, your absolute focus will be the key to seeing the whole picture. I am handing over to our digital guide to lead you through the labyrinth of facts and figures. The veil is lifting right now. Part 11. Operation HIGHJUMP, the silent mobilization. By 1946, while the world was celebrating the end of World War II, the US military leadership realized the victory was incomplete. Strategic intelligence pointed to an unresolved threat in the far south. To address this, Admiral Richard Byrd, a seasoned polar explorer and naval hero, was tasked with leading Task Force 68. This wasn't a scientific mission, it was a massive military mobilization known as Operation HIGHJUMP. The Armada was staggering for a mapping expedition. The massive aircraft carrier USS Philippine Sea, 13 heavy support ships, multiple destroyers, and several submarines, including the USS Senate. Accompanied by over 4,700 elite soldiers and dozens of specialized aircraft, they descended upon the Antarctic coast. Officially, they were there to test equipment in frigid conditions and map the coastline. In reality, Byrd's fleet was a strike force sent to locate and neutralize the final redoubt of the Third Reich, the legendary base 211. Part 12. The 8-week retreat, a defeat in the ice. The Pentagon had prepared for a grueling 6-month campaign to secure the continent. However, the operation collapsed in just 8 weeks. The US fleet didn't just leave, they fled in a state of disorganized panic. To this day, the full casualty list and damage reports remain heavily classified, but fragments of the truth have leaked out. Multiple aircraft were lost in what were officially called navigational accidents, and the submarine USS Senate suffered mysterious heavy damage to its hull. Eyewitness accounts from crew members spoke of a shattering encounter that left the leadership terrified. The invincible American military machine, which had just dismantled the German Wehrmacht across Europe, found itself utterly paralyzed and powerless against a nameless something hiding in the vast icy desert of the Antarctic interior. Part 13. The discs from below, the battle for the skies. The most chilling details come from the declassified snippets of the HIGHJUMP pilots' debriefings. As they flew over the Mühlich-Hoffmann Mountains, they encountered objects that defied every known law of aerodynamics. These were described as shining silver discs that rose vertically, directly out of the dark Antarctic waters at impossible speeds. These craft engaged the American planes not with machine guns, but with focused energy rays that sliced through wings and engines like paper. These were not the primitive jet engines of the Soviet Union or the burgeoning tech of the Cold War. These were the perfected flying discs, the high-tech prototypes that SS General Hans Kammler had successfully evacuated from the secret laboratories of Peenemünde in the final days of 1945. The Wunderwaffe wasn't a myth, it was a reality that the US Navy met head-on in the ice. Part 14. Admiral Byrd's warning, the Great Silence begins. The aftermath was even more surreal. Upon his return, Admiral Byrd was immediately whisked away for debriefing, but not before he gave a haunting, cryptic interview to the Chilean newspaper El Mercurio. His words sent shockwaves through the intelligence community. He warned that the United States must prepare for a new kind of warfare, stating that the country could be attacked by fighters that are able to fly from one pole to the other with incredible speed. He wasn't talking about ghosts. He was talking about a tangible, technologically superior enemy. Immediately after this interview, the curtain of secrecy fell. A top-secret classification was slapped onto every photo, every flight log, and every witness testimony from Operation HIGHJUMP. This wall of silence regarding the Antarctic anomalies remains virtually impenetrable to this day, leaving us to wonder what exactly Byrd saw that made him so afraid for the future of the world. Part 15. The Great Silence. The Diplomatic Lockdown. In 1959, the Antarctic Treaty was signed, declaring the continent a demilitarized zone dedicated to science. But why did the superpowers, in the heat of the Cold War, suddenly agree to abandon such a vast territory? Was it truly to protect resources, or was it a desperate move to lock down the region? The treaty effectively turned Antarctica into a forbidden zone. It suggests a chilling possibility. World powers encountered a force so technologically superior that they chose a pact of silence over an unwinnable global conflict. Part 16. OSINT Investigation. 2026. Modern Anomalies. Today, modern technology is piercing the veil that Admiral Byrd could only glimpse. Using data from NASA's Ice Bridge program, independent researchers have identified startling structural anomalies buried 120 meters under the ice. Near the Volthat Mountains, satellite radar has mapped shapes that defy natural explanation, perfect right angles, and massive rectangular blocks. Geologically, nature does not build with such mathematical precision. This is artificial geometry, a massive subglacial complex that predates any known human construction in the region. Part 17. Deep Thermal Scan. The Heartbeat. Our algorithms have processed high-resolution thermal data, and the results are undeniable. В секторе Земли королевы Мод, официально считающимся мертвым, зафиксирован мощный тепловой выброс. This isn't volcanic activity. The signature displays a rhythmic pulsation, a heartbeat characteristic of massive high-capacity power systems. Deep beneath the ice, a colossal energy source continues to operate, maintaining a life support system for a city that officially does not exist. Part 18. High-level visits. The pilgrimage. If there is nothing in Antarctica but snow, why is it a destination for the global elite? Over the last decade, we've seen a series of bizarre visits. US Secretary of State John Kerry during the 2016 election, Patriarch Kirill, and astronaut Buzz Aldrin, who was medevaced out after witnessing something that left him shaken. These figures aren't there for the scenery. Their itineraries coincide with the coordinates of our identified anomalies. They are visiting the gateways to a hidden reality, seeking counsel from the force occupying the continent since 1945. Part 19. Digital Reconstruction. The City Fortress. The Zero Archive has used radar echoes and thermal pulses to create a digital reconstruction of Base 211. It has evolved into a massive multi-level fortress city. This subterranean megalopolis is completely autonomous, drawing energy from the Earth's core. Our model suggests the use of advanced communication arrays such as neutrino signaling, to bypass global monitoring. This is a sovereign territory, a high-tech city-state advancing in total isolation, possessing technologies we are only beginning to theorize. Part 20. Final Inquiry. The Melting Truth. The truth about Antarctica has been buried for 80 years, but the ice is beginning to melt. The pulse from the deep is beating louder every year, and the signal can no longer be ignored. We are approaching a tipping point where the great silence will be broken. What happens when the force beneath the mountains decides it no longer needs to hide? The Zero Archive remains vigilant. Seek the truth beyond the radar. Stay alert. Subscribe to the protocol. Final summary. The pulse beneath the ice. The story of Antarctica is not just a forgotten chapter in geography books. It is a living, breathing process unfolding right now. The investigation into Operation HIGHJUMP and the analysis of modern NASA anomalies prove one thing: the frozen continent remains the most heavily guarded secret on the planet. We are seeing how facts from the past, ranging from Hans Kammler's secret prototypes to Admiral Byrd's dire warnings, perfectly align with today's thermal signals and the cryptic visits of global leaders. The Zero Archive does not end here. As long as security classifications remain in place and satellites continue to capture artificial geometry where there should only be void, our investigation continues. Antarctica is merely one piece of a global mosaic involving hidden technologies and shadow diplomacy. Stay connected to the protocol. It only gets more interesting from here. Zero Archive. Out.